Hello, and welcome back to the Test Drive Podcast, brought to you by Sport Car USA. I'm your host, Lee Bodette. Here at Sport Car USA, we love all things fast. From stock Corvettes to tuned-up Hellcats, we love it all. So buckle up and come for a ride on this week's episode of Test Drive. Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to our Test Drive Podcast, number 28. I'm Lee Bodette, your host. I've been a radio broadcaster for over 40 years. I host the series called Test Drive on the YouTube channel, and I'm the frontman and host of Sport Car USA, and of course, a car enthusiast my entire life. So, today's podcast is number 28, as I mentioned, and we're happy to have Mike Adams, who's the special events director for the National Street Rod Association. Mike, hello and welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Tell us where you're from and what your position entails.
Well, I live in a little town called Petoskey, Michigan, which is about 30 miles south of the Mackinac Bridge that connects the two peninsulas. I came on board in 2019, I guess is when it was, and then I've been an event director ever since. I first joined the NSRA way back in 1989, and like a lot of people, worked myself up the ranks. I was an advisor for a while. I jumped on their safety team that they do, became a state rep, became a division director, and then, like I said, took over this job in 2018.
All right. Well, we welcome you to the northern Vermont area, as this weekend in Essex Junction, home of the Champlain Valley Fair at the Champlain Valley Expo in Essex Junction, the National Street Rod Association Northeast Street Rod Nationals is happening. Mm-hmm. How long has this been going on?
This will be the 29th year.
For here?
For here.
This
event has never changed. It's always been right here. Gordon, everything says Burlington. That's where it ties into, but it's always been right at the fairgrounds in Essex Junction. That's never changed.
Burlington, the largest city in the state of Vermont, so you might as well put that name out there, right?
So it's always been tagged that way. We get people that on Facebook all the time, it's like, why do you still call it Burlington? It's not in Burlington. Mm-hmm. Well, that's just how it got named. It's been there ever since. We realize it's in Essex Junction, but it's just a name.
Well, I will say I grew up in South Burlington, okay, and I won't get you upset about that one, but I can recall for the last 29 plus years, the street rodders pretty much overtaking northern Vermont. I mean, you guys are like everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? When do you guys get into town, and how long do you stay?
Okay, well, I roll in on Sunday. Been here
prior.
This first Sunday, and then it all starts basically from there. Monday you start doing your groundwork with things. I'll go visit the host hotel. That's where I'm staying anyway. You run through everything because that's where registration is, which is at the Hampton Inn in Colchester. Mm-hmm. And then I'll go out and visit the fairgrounds, see how things are doing there. It's always interesting because they're coming off the fair, and then they always have this big trailer thing. So when you roll in, there's all these campers everywhere. But I was just there today, and they're almost all gone already. So it doesn't take long to whip them all out and whip them, So.
Yeah, you're talking about the Champlain Valley Fair, which is the largest fair in the entire state of Vermont, one of the largest in New England. And that is a huge, huge event. It goes through Labor Day, and now it's time for the street rodders.
Ready for us to come in.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how big of a staff do you have?
Overall staff is probably about 12, I'd say, with us. And then everything else trickles down from there, where you have basically, what's the word I'm looking, they're volunteers.
Yeah.
Everybody volunteers all the way from, division directors down to state reps, down to advisors and stuff like that. That's the only way we can put on events, is that, you have your volunteers that come in and help do the events with us. That's the only way you could do it, because, 12 people can't do it, We do 10 events all the way across the United States all summer long. So.
You mentioned 29 years here in Essex Junction.
Right.
How long have the National Street Rod Association been around?
We just celebrated our 54th year this year in Louisville, Kentucky at the Nationals. That's the big event.
That's the big one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We thought Essex Junction was the big one. No. Probably comparison, right?
10,000 cars in Louisville.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow.
So it's big.
Talking cars, how many cars are we talking about in Essex Junction this weekend?
The numbers have been down a lot over the thing. I mean, really ever since COVID.
Right.
Things have changed. Last year we just barely went over 1,000. I mean, the way times are, the way things are, I'd be happy for 1,000 cars. Yeah. That's it. Will we get it? Time never. You don't know until registration's done on Saturday where we stand. So.
We're talking with Mike Adams, the special events director for the National Street Rod Association. They're coming to the Burlington area on the 15th, 16th, and 17th at the Champlain Valley Exposition, Pearl Street in Essex Junction. Mike, tell me how this has evolved, because I know initially it was all about hot rods and street rods. And then a few years ago, I don't know how many years ago, the classic cars were allowed and the antiques were allowed. How did that come about?
Well, it was, like you said, it was always a street rod only show, pre-1948. But as time has evolved, things have changed. You start realizing your demographics changing. Your people are changing. So back in 2005, we had two brand new events that came out. One was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The other one was in Richmond, Virginia. That was our first time opening it up to, at that time, a sliding, which it still is to this day, a sliding scale of 30 years or older. So, my math isn't that good, but we're back, 80, 70 something was our first late model let in. Well, as you start evolving, you start realizing, okay, more people are starting to show up with late model cars. So in 2010, the decision was made all the way across the board. All our events would now be on the 30-year-old sliding scale. Now we've reached to the point now that we're 90 some, 92, 93 is where we are. Right. And everybody says, oh, that's horrible. But those cars aren't there. That's not what comes up. It's still 50s and 60s. That's the big deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's the music you're going to hear, number one. I've been there many times.
That hasn't changed, right?
How did the street rodders take to the fact that you decided to let the other folks in?
There's some that we've lost that have never come back.
Really?
Oh yeah, they just you thought it was the end of the world because we changed.
Yeah.
But what we're finding now, and it's slowly but surely ticking in that direction, the late models are overtaking the street rods.
And that's something.
So the same guy that used to beat his bones in his 32 Ford now has a 65 Rivy that has air ride and is smooth as silk.
Yeah.
You realize that's a lot better ride than that 32 Ford was.
Well, I'm wondering if the street rods could be somehow related to the story of like the Model A, the Model Ts. On previous podcasts, Mike, we talked about how the older generation is, quote unquote, getting older, and some of them, unfortunately, have passed away. And the younger kids, the younger generation, they aren't interested in the Model A's and the Model T's. Is that what's happening with the street rods?
Same thing? Same thing. Exact same thing. One of the things that we've done, and we've done it for 40-some years, is our Under 29 program. We do it at all our events, which it started out originally as Under 21, then it got bumped up to Under 29, and that is sponsored by Vintage Air, and it's kind of a non-competition. Right. The kids can come, they park, and Vintage Air gives away a complete air unit to one of them and a fan to another. They've done that for years, and you're bringing those, trying to develop the younger crowd.
Absolutely.
It's Rick Love. That's one of his pet, projects. He's been involved with it since day one, and he supports it right up to the now.
And what is Rick Love's position?
Rick is the owner of Vintage Air.
Oh, okay. I see.
So, he's jumped right on and done it. Very rarely anymore do you see a street rod in the Under 29. It's all late model stuff that the kids have these days. I say kids, but it's as we all get older, they're kids.
Well, I put myself into the older demographic, and I got to tell you, when you switched to allowing that the classic cars can come in, 30 years old, I love it. I think it's amazing. You've got the street rodders there by the hundreds, and then you've got all these great classic cars from everywhere. I just think it's a great mix.
It's car. I mean, the Holdliners hated it, But most of us car guys are car guys, and it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still the same guy that I'll go to the antique tractor show
Yeah.
to look at the tractors because it's cool.
Right.
They're neat. There's something different, you know. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but hey, they put as much time into that as they do other things. So.
I think you're so right. If you're
You know?
a car guy, car gal, why not?
Yeah.
It's the love of automobiles.
You know, we'll all go someplace and find an antique, museum someplace, which has nothing to do with a hot rod. But hey, you still go in and look at them
Right.
because it's, that stuff's disappearing too. So.
Yeah, and some of those street runners that you talked about that aren't real happy with the change from a few years ago, they will go to check out a vehicle on the weekend when nobody's looking, I guess.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, when no. Hey, does anybody see us?
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
So there must be some great stories to tell about throughout the years with the street rodders. Is there any one or two that really just sticks out as far as maybe how the car came about, where the person found it, how much work they had to do on it? Anything like that stick out?
Oh,
in your
yeah.
mind?
I mean, there's always some. I mean, every now and then you'll run into. I have a guy out in Bakersfield, California, and that is one of my events that I also do out there. His dad bought the car. He gave him to him when he was 17 years old, and he still has it.
Nice.
Hasn't changed it. Hasn't done anything other than maybe put some new tires on it. Otherwise, it's still all original, And he brings it to our events because he likes cars. He realizes it's an antique. It's all original. It's not the thing. But he'll tell you the stories. I mean, he knows everything about that car inside and out. I mean, he grew up in that car, and it's neat. It's not really my cup of tea. I'm a hot rod guy. I like a modified.
Yeah.
But it's neat in its own way. I do know that one of the TV stations came out to Essex Junction last year, and they ended up doing a story, same kind of thing. They found a guy that knew all about the car. It was like his dad's car and the whole thing, and they carried on down through the things. It's not uncommon to have a third generation now.
Yeah.
That it was Grandpa's car, got passed to Dad, now it's grandson's car.
Yeah. It's all about the stories. I mean, when you talk about older vehicles, it's about the story, and some of them are short and sweet. Others, as you just mentioned, have a lot of history to it and a lot of people involved. One thing that really sticks out with me as far as street rods and hot rods, the paint jobs. Some of those paint jobs are just unbelievable.
I mean, there's a lot of money wrapped up into some. I mean, you don't even. I don't even want to guess what kind of figures we're talking. But paint's expensive these days. You talk
That's
to
true.
people,
Yeah.
paint's really expensive. So it doesn't really even a semi just so paint job's expensive.
Yeah,
So.
and a lot of customization too.
Yep.
Not only with the paint, but of course the modification of the vehicles and the customization of the vehicles as well. So, what vendors are we going to see there this weekend, Mike?
Like everything else, the vendors have changed. That's one of our biggest things that when people get on Facebook, they knock, NSRA for the vendors are going away. You're chasing the vendors away. It's not us chasing the vendors away. Since 2020, the vendors have realized they don't need to be out in the public. COVID taught them that they could do just as well staying at home, working on the internet and selling twice as much. Because like going to an event, when you're adding up their fuel, adding up their food, adding up their motel rooms, and then to the thing, everybody says, "Oh, we're pricing them out." The prices haven't changed in 15 years.
Really,
it's the same. And that hasn't changed. Once somebody starts the rumor, then it's you're free. Yeah, but that's not it. So that's our biggest struggle is trying to get the vendors. Right now going in, when we first did up the event guide, we were probably only at about a dozen or so that were committed at the point. Some will roll in later. I don't know exactly what that is. I mean, that's kind of the guys that do the vendors inside. Right. Our sales department that does that. So,
well, Sport Car USA is going to be there, and Sport Car USA buys and sells modern muscle cars all over the country. Right next to us in I believe it's the Robert Miller building, will be the Quinton Brothers.
Right.
And, of course, they're very well known for modifications and then some for sure. What other type vendors? Now, we know you can have lots of food there, but are there any specific vendors that you wanted to touch on? If you're looking for certain parts, certain paint, can you get it all there?
And that's part of the problem is that those guys are we always try to strive to get one of like Danny's Rod Shop out of Tennessee or Kentucky, or somebody that sells the parts. Those are the ones that everybody wants to see because they come to the event to buy parts. But you talk to the vendors, they tell you, yeah, they come, they look, and then they go home and they order it on the internet someplace else. Right. So that's again. So, really what we have is mostly a lot of local stuff that come. I mean, there's a few national? Yeah, I mean, there's a few, but most of this is local stuff that's here, You
probably get a chuckle out of this. One of the guys that I see every year there, and I've purchased many from him, is the license plate guy. He will customize your license plates, put anything on the license plate frame that you want, and he's been at this show for a long time. Matter of fact, we saw him last weekend. Scott Nickerson, our producer, saw him last weekend at the Adirondack Car Show. And I can't tell you his name. I can't tell you the name of his business, but I know he's going to be there.
Yeah, and I can't. It's drawing a blank right now, too. Again, that stuff's kind of handled through our sales, between Bob Reynolds and Tom Volbrick Jr. They kind of handle all that part of the business. And, I always laugh. I deal with the stuff outside the buildings. They deal with the stuff that's inside the buildings.
Right. We're talking with Mike Adams, the Special Events Director from the NSRA, which stands for National Street Rod Association. The Northeast Street Rod Nationals happening this weekend, Thursday through Sunday, at the Champlain Valley Expo in Essex Junction, Vermont. Now, pre-registration was required up until a certain part.
No, you can still register on site.
Right. Okay, you can, but you have to go to the hotel, correct?
Yes, you have to. Okay. Regardless, you still have to go to the hotel to pick up your credentials.
Okay. So I made that mistake one year myself.
Yeah, everybody says, "Oh, what's it?" That's like no, and they all say, "Why is that?" Well, there's a lot to it where, as we call them, credentials, and that's when you get your buttons.
Right.
That's what we call credentials. Well, people try to pass those onto other people. And that's why it's not done on site. We do it at the thing.
Right.
That's why we won't mail the credentials to anybody. They have to come and pick them up.
There you go.
And then it's basically when you come in, you sign your name on it. You sign that you got your stuff. And then you're all, you can't come back and say, "Oh, you didn't give me the." No, it all gets checked. It all goes through and that type of thing. And
it's a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I mean, it's been going on for 54 years.
Yes.
So,
I remember one year I had my 66 Mustang. I said, I'll just go over to Champlain Valley Expo. I'll register and I'll be all set. No, Lee, you have to go back to the hotel and get your packet and pay your fee and your registration fee. But it was a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But certainly enjoyable. Anything else you want to touch on as far as the National Street Rod Association going on this weekend? It'll be fun.
I mean, it's always fun. I mean, again, one of the things that I really need to is that you guys coming on board with Sport Car USA, me coming here and doing this, but then having the cruise.
Right.
You're doing the open house up here. You offered to do a cruise. They're going to line up at the fairgrounds, leave at 2:30.
Thursday.
Take the back roads on up here and this thing. Now, it's like talking with Scott earlier, how many? We don't know at this point. It's brand new.
Yeah.
So, we'll just see how many show up and want to come and do it. And hopefully we can, we can do it, find a different route every year, because that's what happens is that, we keep doing it. But if they take the same route every year, everybody gets tired real quick.
Yeah. We had a Sport Car USA meeting earlier today, and we're discussing the parade, if you will. It's going to start in Essex Junction at the Champlain Valley Expo. Sport Car USA will be there to help lead the parade. And we're going to probably take Route 7 all the way up to St. Albans, which is about 40 minutes away. Should be a lot of fun, and I know you've been making announcements, or will be making announcements about it, and a lot of people are aware of it. But I think we're going to have a really nice parade there. And if you're along the route of Route 7 from Essex to St. Albans, get your lawn chair out, and you're going to see some mighty fine automobiles.
Definitely.
And once people get up here, we are hoping to give them some water.
And one of the things we used to do here for years was a parade. And then that went away about 3-4 years ago because it's like anything else. It's hard to get staffing. the police department's all, you know how hard this is and all that stuff. And we were more, basically I was kind of told we would prefer you not do that anymore.
Right.
You know, so you just kind of heed that and say, all right.
Let a few years go by, and then we just bring it up again. We'll do it again.
You know, but see, we're not calling this a parade. This is a cruise.
It's a cruise.
See, this is different. So that's how we're going around this.
Yes. Okay. I think that's going to work just fine. And as I was alluding to at our Sport Car USA meeting this morning, somebody said, you know what? It's going to work because most people that have a car, a hot rod, a classic car, they like going cruising. So let's take a 40-minute cruise. Some have never been to Vermont before.
Right.
So let's see what Vermont's all about in this cruise. I mentioned we're going to have free water, some T-shirts, and some other swag that we'll give the participants. And if you're just looking for a good time just to see some cars before the street rods get started in Essex Junction, kind of like the preliminary, you can come out to the Handy Toyota, Handy Chevy dealership off of Highgate Road, off of exit 20, and check these out. We'll be here for probably, 30 minutes to an hour once we arrive, probably around, 3:15, Scott?
Yeah, and then I know there's something pretty big after that, right? That
well,
people get excited about.
Yeah, the one thing that they always do is this is a combination between the Champlain Valley Fairgrounds and the local CVB. The hotels kick in. We do what they call the spaghetti dinner, and they've done that for years and years.
That sounds good.
It's not really spaghetti. It's more of a pasta thing, but they still bill it as a spaghetti dinner.
That's what it sounds
and that's
like.
free to all the participants. Sure. All you got to do is come, once you register, you have your button. You show the button at the thing, and it's free eats. So, who doesn't like free food?
Absolutely.
That's, I have I have a buddy who's now passed, and we used to kid that he would drive 4 hours for a free hot dog. And that was always the deal. It's like, well, where's he go? Well, they must be having something free because that's the only reason he'd go.
Well, after doing many radio broadcasts over 40 years, I can tell you we do the live remotes, and if you say free food, look out. There's a family of 10 on their way.
Yeah, somewhere.
And I remember one time we were giving out free hot dogs, and I actually had to put a sign up, like 2 hot dogs per person, because we had some people that were just, it was like the...
fill a backpack full
it's
of
like a
hot
guy's
dogs.
named Joey, the hot dog
Chestnut.
eating guy.
Joey Chestnut.
Joey
Oh, yeah,
Chestnut.
John
It's
Chestnut,
like they were there, so anyhow.
Well, I have one quick question.
Yes.
So the NSRA, it's not just you guys behind the scenes that are running all these shows. Like, you have members as well, right?
Exactly.
So how does someone get involved to be a part of your group and the NSRA as a whole?
It's pretty, we have a yearly membership. That's the one thing that is you need to be an NSRA member to participate in the shows. Some people always ask why, that is, but that's just part of the deal. That's the way it was way back when they started, and we do it to the thing. The one of the deals is, and I brought a copy along, is you get a monthly magazine when you're a member.
Yeah.
That's part of that's part of it.
Added value.
And then, our magazine is really that's how we let people know what's going on.
Right.
It's our information, the hardest part of doing this is like any magazine, the lead time is that, my first event is in Bakersfield in the latter part of April. I'll have to write my first article by the end of October.
Right, you're starting next year already.
Yeah, I'll already be starting for next year's stuff by the end of this, this fall. So it's a year-round thing. You just keep going. So, but
perfect. And people, if they're looking to sign up, can do so at the show.
They'll come to registration. If you're not a member, it's $80 for the event for the weekend. But then now you have become a member for
That's a great value.
For the thing.
And this is for show participants, not the people coming to the show to look at the vehicles.
Right. Spectators, that's $19 for adults.
Right.
And that's $6 for 13 years and old. No, it's $19 if you're 13 years old, $6 for children, and under 5 you're free. Then last year we started a new thing, which is the family pack, which is $40 for a family, which includes 2 adults and 3 children. We also offer the $2 discount, which is for the active military, seniors that are over 60, or NSRA members. Sometimes you'll have an NSRA member that maybe he's just passing through
Sure.
or doesn't have a car. He still wants to come to the event. Well, you're not spending the money to come to the show, but you still want to come in and look around. We offer a $2 discount to that. And then a lot of our events, which is O'Reilly, which is a big sponsor, you can also get the discount tickets at all O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly. You
Yeah.
got it. O'Reilly.
We talked a little bit about Bakersfield, one of the locations in California, of course, Essex Junction, Vermont. What are the other 8 locations? Put you on the spot.
Yeah, you're going to put me on the
Here we
spot
go.
and trying to come down through. So we start out the season in Bakersfield, California, come all the way across the country and go to Knoxville, Tennessee. Then we'll come back to Springfield, Missouri. Then we come all the way back up to York, Pennsylvania. Then from there we go to Pueblo, Colorado. And from Pueblo is our national event in Louisville.
10,000 cars.
Yep. And then after that, it goes to Kalamazoo, Michigan, then up to Burlington, and then now new this year, Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City used to be in July, and we've moved that one. That one's moved around 3 or 4 times. We're just trying to find that perfect time of the year to be in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And we tried July, really hot. I mean, 100 every day, and that really wasn't working. So it's moved to October now, and we'll see how that goes. Next year, we got 2 new shows.
Oh, really?
Next year, we'll be debuting a show in Mobile, Alabama in June, and Davenport, Iowa in August. So
Great.
trying to do a couple of new ones, and we're still looking in different parts of the country to.
Still growing.
You always get people to say, why won't you come to our area? Why won't you come to our area? Well, first thing is we got to find a place to go. That's the biggest thing. And then second, which a lot of people definitely do not understand, is it has to work for the fairgrounds and it has to work for us.
Right.
And that is the hardest thing in the world, to get 2 entities to be able to have the same weekend that you can do an event.
Well, I would say, yeah.
I was going to say, we just had 2 weeks ago, it was finishing up the Champlain Valley Fair, which is like one of the biggest events in the area, and it takes up the fair for 10 days, I believe. So you guys squeeze right in between a whole bunch of different events right at that fairground.
And it's funny, and it seems to work with a lot of our events, that either we're coming in right after the fairs or it's right before.
Yep.
And it's not that we, you necessarily plan it. The fairgrounds don't want to plan it that way, obviously. But it's just, you has to find that one that works for us and works for them, that you're not already, 3 of these, 3 times a year we do back-to-backs. So that's where it all, Springfield and York is back-to-back. Bakersfield and Knoxville is back-to-back. And Kalamazoo and Burlington is back-to-back. So that kind of puts us, it's as I say, our traveling circus has to go from event to event to event to event.
Yeah. Seems like this year on our podcast, we're talking about the weather all the time because it's been such a horrible summer, and we're getting into fall now, and we're still getting rained on. What kind of weather have you had this year with the National Street Rod Association?
We've actually been really, really lucky this year. Now, I was not in the event last weekend in Kalamazoo because I was already coming up here to prep, start getting things ready. Now, from what I've talked to some people already, is it was already starting to get kind of cold, kind of rained, misted the first day or so, but it wasn't horrible, A few years back when one of them hurricanes came through, and I don't remember which one it was, and we were in Kalamazoo, it rained a solid 3 days. It never stopped until we got in the car and got about an hour up the road, and the sun came out.
So your events are rain or shine.
Our events are rain or shine. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
once you're there, you're committed. So, that's one of our other things, is when the weatherman starts predicting it's going to rain, boy, that'll affect who shows up.
Yeah, we ran into that with some of our events. We had times where there was, even if there's any chance of rain, you're not going to get those people to come out. Which is reasonable.
Our fair weather friends, as we say.
Yeah.
They want, it's going cloudy. Nope, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're talking hundreds of cars here, so it'd be pretty tough to move it from one weekend to the next.
Exactly.
Plus the logistics of the whole thing.
Well, again, I don't know, if we didn't have it, I'm not sure what's going on at Champlain Valley next weekend. They might have something and you wouldn't be able to.
Exactly.
So,
29 years in the Essex Junction Champlain Valley Exposition. Number one, thank you very much, because the amount of money, I can't even imagine the amount of money that you bring into this area for those 4 days. Because, as I mentioned, you see these street rods and classic cars everywhere, all over what we say is Chittenden County and into Plattsburgh, northern New York. Everybody's going for a cruise, and the hotels, the restaurants, you name it, are all benefiting from the National Street Rod Association being here, and we do appreciate that.
Thanks. Well, we enjoy coming here, that's for sure.
Let's recap. Mike Adams, the Special Events Coordinator, Director. Let's tell us about the times. We're going to kick things off on Thursday with the cruise.
Yep.
Won't call it a parade. It's the
Yep,
cruise.
It's cruise, yeah.
So give us
we don't want to use the word parade.
No, we won't do that. And what days and times?
Well, our exhibitors in swap meet and Women's World people will all start coming in on Thursday. That starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and it goes till 6 or so. Registration will start on noon on Thursday, and that'll also go till 6. And then Friday, we kick everything off 7 a.m. We start letting everybody in. Spectators start coming in at 8, and we go till 5 o'clock every night. So that's pretty much the gist of it.
So, yeah, we hope that everybody can stop in at least for a few hours and enjoy the National Street Rod Association's big show that you're putting on this weekend at the Champlain Valley Expo. Mike, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, again, thanks for having me. Thanks for coming on board with the cruise. Let's hope that goes really well, and that's something we can continue doing year after year.
Absolutely.
And it's always fun. It's always fun to do something different. I mean, that's always the thing. Everybody says that we're stagnant. Well, you can see we're not trying to be stagnant. Nope. We're trying to find other things to do. So.
Absolutely. Some forward thinking there.
Yep.
Mike Adams from the National Street Rod Association. He's the Special Events Director. And we thank you very much, Mike, for being with us. I want to thank Scott Nickerson for producing our show today, our podcast. And thanks for listening to our Test Drive podcast number 28. I'm Lee Bodette, your host. Be sure to check out our Test Drive series on YouTube. And we'll see you next time on our next Test Drive podcast. And remember, let's never forget the men and women serving this great country of ours. Goodbye, everybody.